I want you to picture this. You're in a sleek, intimate billiards room, your favorite whiskey in hand, chopping it up about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. That's the Billiards Roundtable. Authentic, real, and smooth, just like the conversations that keep us grounded and inspired. I'm Malik Jones, co-creator of Billiards. Over the years, I've had the blessing of connecting with some truly brilliant artists, visionaries who don't just create, but I believe shift the culture and pave the way for change. Moderated by Billiards' very own Naire Poole, and directed by Vania Alonnie, this episode invites you to sit with artists who dare to dream big and walk boldly in their craft. So, hold up, lean back, and meet us at the table. This is the Billiards Roundtable.
Hey y'all, it's Naire here. Welcome to the very first episode of the Billiards Roundtable. Today we're shining a light on actors, exploring the grad school hustle, the culture of the industry, and what it truly means to step into this craft in today's world. I'm honored to be joined by an incredible group of artists: Adebowalé Adebiyi, Aaron J. Anderson, William Appiah, Brandon Foxworth, Luis Rivera Figueroa, Jaquan Malik Jones, Solomon Langley, Craig Lindsay, and the absolute one and only John Douglas Thompson.
Moderated by Naire Poole.
Sir, it's a privilege to have you here. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you.
Each of you certainly brings something extraordinary to this roundtable, and it's a privilege to share this space with all of you. So let's dive right in and get to our questions, because I'm sure everybody wants to hear. Will, I think let's start, and then we'll just see where we taper off from there. Will, if you had one word that would sum up grad school, what do you think it would be?
A blur. I'll say it's a blur. And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, the days were long and the years, the weeks were short, and it flew by. And yeah. It was a blur.
I certainly can agree. And just remembering the long days and it seeming like everything else was kind of dashing by. Is that sort of the consensus on the grad school experience from all of us? Or do any of us have like sort of differences regarding our experience of the day to day?
It felt like church. It really felt like church.
Can you share a little more about that?
Being in a place, being challenged to be a better person each day, like each day was just something new, something different. It was like, oh, I need to work on this, I need to work on that. And it just went beyond that curriculum. You know, it was the stuff that wasn't in the curriculum that was just like, okay, yeah, we got to grow as a person.
Yeah.
I was going to say therapy. Very much therapy every day. I mean, so many, you know, the things that your professors are telling you to work on. When you go to actual therapy and you start to find this stuff creeping up in life, like one of my things was less is more. And I'd be like, all right, less is more. And then in therapy, I was like, I'm tending to do a whole lot when I don't have to. So it was wild how things was clicking like that for me. So I would say like definitely Blur, definitely church, and definitely it was, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of far removed from that experience. But what I do remember was how when I started working professionally, that experience was vital, because the stuff that I refused to learn when I was in school, I really learned quickly when I was out of school, if that makes any sense. And you'll never work as hard on, let's say, a play or a movie or a television show as hard as you have worked in school. Those will be your longest hours to a certain extent, right? Because you're together with a group of people, working with a group of people for more than a year, 2 years, maybe longer. But in your professional life, you'll never have that situation. So it's actually, when I look back on my years, it was like a charmed time because it was never duplicated. I never ran into a situation that was even similar to my school days. You know what I mean? So I was very thankful for them because they felt as if they provided me with more than enough to tackle professional work. So that's my 2-bit.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I would say that there's so much digging that happens in the middle of a grad school experience that it feels as though so much gets rooted, planted, seeded because it's a garden of its own.
Mm.
Right. And that alone is keeping up with a practice and managing your own sort of vessel to be what it needs to be for craft. And so I guess speaking of rituals or practices that we may have, especially as you talked about how it transferred forward into the professional realm, Craig, do you have a ritual or practice that you do before stepping into a role or a space?
I think sometimes I take every show differently. I do different things for just each show, just because character for me, stakes are different, and what I want to bring just feels different for different characters. But I would say a lot of times I do a lot of the breath work that we worked on in grad school, um, stretch, really like take care of my body. Before, I didn't really take account how important it was to be present with your body. Um, so anything that helps with my presence, like I love jazz, so I listen to a lot of jazz music to kind of center me. And while I'm in the dressing room or wherever I'm at, I'm just vibing in my character, kind of inching and getting to who he is, um, and just being free in that. So I would say that's one of a consistent ritual that I have.
That's lovely. Does anyone else want to speak to their rituals or their practices that they keep up with pretty consistently across the work that you're doing?
I think it's been changing through time for me. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico in undergrad, I our call times to every show is 2 hours before, and that's like the normal thing. It's like 2 hours before you need to be there. You can be a little bit late from that, but that's the. But then here in US, it's like 30 minutes before you can be here. It's like, what is that? What is that? That's great. So I think that I'm used to have long warm-ups. Like I need an hour at least, because I like to sweat. I like to do stuff to be relaxed. I didn't realize that it was because I wanted to be relaxed. I thought that it was because I wanted to be warm. But then listening to Craig now, I agree. Like at the end, all of that is what's helped me to be relaxed and present. Because if I sweat and move, then my arms are like, okay, I move already, so I don't need to move when you're doing the thing. So that's what I usually do.
I pray. I have, and I'm sure as we continue to talk, we can get deeper into this, but this has become a spiritual practice for me. I'm a minister. I was ordained when I was 15, and I've learned now that my ministry is directly connected to the craft. That when I'm doing a gig, it is not ever really about the gig, that it is about leaving the people there better than you did when you first met them. And that there tends to be a responsibility when you have the power to shift a room, because the opposite end of that is that you can pick up on any energy in the room. You can make it yours or you can change it. And at many times I was confused by that, but getting closer to God, very spiritual person, I've learned that, well, you love for God to be in the space, why don't you pray before? And since I've done that for the past 2 years, yes, things still happen. Things still, every day is not perfect. That doesn't mean that, now magically everything is well, but I feel protected. I feel like if I fall, I'm gonna be caught. Somebody in that room go catch me because somebody caught that prayer that I held. And so I don't even enter the space until I pray. I have to. That's like, and same, like some things change in terms of like after I pray and get into the room, then whatever character it is, maybe I need to listen to a song, maybe I need silence, maybe I need to go somewhere and stare at, outside. But for me, I have to pray before I go in. Got to.
Mm. For me, I tend to read the script the morning of the performance. And then when I get to the half hour, it would be great if we had the 2-hour thing like you got, Luis. That sounds fire. But like here in America, it's truly a 30-minute kind of thing. So I try to do some work before getting to the theater, 30 minutes before. So I go over the script, and when I get to my dressing room, I go over the first act of the script, right? And then go out and perform. And at intermission, I go over act 2 of the script and then go back out and perform. So for me, it's like just getting in touch. That helps me, like you were saying, Brandon, as well as Craig, get in touch with my character to go over the words almost repetition, over and over and over again. Because I find new things too. It's like, oh, that's what that really means. Or that's what that can mean. Oh, I could make a different choice here. I could use a different inflection here. I could pause here. I could do all sorts of stuff that I wouldn't be keen to do if I didn't go over the script every day.
Yeah. I think we're stepping into the land of mechanics and the actual machine that is this work, and finding a way to exist within it in a way that keeps you in a sustainable way. I think that's the word I'm looking for, in a sustainable way of moving through this business. I mean, Aaron, I'm particularly curious, just you're fresh off of Broadway. How yes, I mean, look, snaps already. How do you find that? And we've been talking about ways of us staying in ritual and in grounding, but how do you find that some of the work you're doing is transforming or changing or adjusting you as an artist?
One, I'm happy to be here with y'all, and I know a few of these brothers, and I remember, prayer helps. Prayer changes things, and during the show that I was just in, getting on stage, I found that the thing that changed the most was Aaron the person as opposed to Aaron the artist. Um, I'm constantly in search of this confidence and this joy that was stripped away from me when I was younger. And each process, I learned something different about me, which then enhances my art, I guess, you know? I hope that answered the question. I'm a person that chases rabbits and goes on tangents, and my mind is moving like crazy right now with so much that I can say. But I think the biggest thing is just like right now, my most recent process, just it gave me a lot more confidence, and it taught me to speak more highly of myself than what I do. But I didn't learn that necessarily in this process. I didn't learn that from the character. I learned that from like kind of just being thrown in the deep end and learning that it's really not about you. Um, like Brandon said, like you gotta trust that your scene partner is going to catch you. Um, and you just gotta be free and willing to play. And I live my life kind of like very strict. I grew up in the church. I'm a praying man. I'm like, I hold tight to a lot of things. But in this craft, the scene that we do, you can't hold tight to anything, which is tough because I'm a planner, and I like to plan what I'm going to do. I'll be in my room or in the rehearsal process or in my script thinking like, man, this would be cool. This would be, yeah, I like this. And then you get in there and you do it for no reason. It's unprompted. Like my scene partner did not give me that, but this is something I rehearsed. And it's just so I don't know if I'm really answering your question other than the fact that when I'm up there, I'm learning something about myself. And the most recently, I learned that I can swim. And yeah, I can swim.
I love that because I think what happens is sometimes people gloss over the fact that each person is having their own experience in the middle of doing their work. And while we're developing these characters and developing these stories, we're creating these worlds alongside still living in the world that we're living in, experiencing our own experiences and having to transform not only as an artist, but as a person in the middle of all of that happening. I would say that makes me really curious about maybe some challenges that you've all faced at this point. I guess I'll direct this one directly to Quan, but what do you imagine has been maybe one of your or amongst your challenges in the middle of this craft, and how have you navigated those challenges?
You're never really in control of anything. Like you never really. And I think the way I just navigated through it is just like, thankfully I can lean on my faith and embrace the fact that you can't have control of everything. So I think I just assume that whatever happens is what was supposed to happen, and I got to be okay with that. Like kind of to piggyback off of Brandon, like, one of the prayers I say before I go on, like I'll be on my knees in a bathroom or like right in front of the, dressing room joint, in front of the vanity or whatever. And I'll say, like, dear God, like if I don't do nothing but touch at least one person out there, and they leave better than when they came. Just one. I'll be cool with that. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody, at least one person walked out like, I can walk through life a little better now, a little easier, shoulders a little more relaxed, loose, whatever. I think I just kind of apply that to every challenge I go through. That everything is not going to be in my hands, and that's okay. That's all right.
I think that when you start asking this question, I was like, wow, this is heavy, because when I get here to grad school, I was a very confident actor coming from my country, like very confident. I know what to do, la la la. But then I didn't realize that speaking in another language would be so difficult in this craft, because one of the things that we're looking for is to be present. Don't think about anything. You need to be listening, present, responding. And how can I do that if I don't understand well what I'm listening, what I'm hearing from the other person? How can I do that if when I speak, I realize that, oh, it's difficult for me in this moment, but at the same time, I want to continue. I want to sell the story. I never thought about these things of selling the story or stuff like that, or not used to. So I started to develop bad habits that I didn't have. So I think that it's been a process to recalibrate that confidence in me. And after a little bit, I think I'm winning that battle every day a little bit more. So I think there's something of how to keep yourself confident and trust that you have something. You have something. Maybe it's not this thing, but you have this other thing. And trust on that and go for it and have fun and bring your thing. Every time we're listening a story about a new actor that it was about to quit, like Coleman Domingo, for example. And then, oh, that day I was just having fun, Walking Dead. I'm going to do whatever audition I want to do. And then he got the part. So we go to acting school to learn the things that we already knew when we were babies. And I think at the end, that's what we're doing, trying to learn what we already knew. But for some reason, we forgot or something.
I'm almost a los bebés.
Like going in a circle.
It's a circle of life. It's super important. And I think people forget that there's already so much innate knowledge that we have as beings and interacting with other people. I think that also speaks towards, you were talking about how you had to sort of recalibrate your confidence in a way, moving through what we're doing. And that makes me think about the different ways that we gauge our success and how much that contributes to our set of confidence, essentially. I guess I'll throw this question over to you, Wale. And what do you think about, where you are now and how maybe your perceptions of success have adjusted over the work that you're doing?
It's a great question. I feel much more grateful and thankful to still be in this game and having a community of people that I can reach out to and talk to through the ups and downs. Because in my conversations with my friends, my professors, my fellow artists, I've been learning that, like, number one, you have to define what success is for you. You don't want to get swayed by the glitz and the glamour, like what you see out there. You want to dare to really create a space for you in this industry and really walk in that with strength and power and confidence and knowing what you know.
Does anybody else have anything to add to that point?
I mean, I think you can look at, I liked what you said about defining your own success or finding your own particular thing, because it's different for everybody. I mean, I remember when I was first coming out of school, I would watch people and I'd be envious of what they were doing and trying to plot something similar, but it never worked, so it took 3 years to kind of figure out what would work for me, where I could ply my craft and have even just a modicum of success. And it wasn't so much that I was looking for success, it was how can I really enjoy this? How can this be fun for me so that I can make a living out of it, right? I almost determined success would be okay if I could pay my bills, if I can get 3 acting gigs a year, then that's success, because a lot of people can't get that work. I got this work. So it made me move my understanding what success was for me a little bit lower, because it was just about getting a job. And then later on, it becomes about the quality of the job, the quality of work, and so forth. But everybody's journey is going to be extremely different. And my mistake initially is looking at someone else's career and wanting to do that. And that just wasn't what was right for me.
And that's a real thing. Comparison is
Yeah.
wild, and it is the thief of joy.
Yeah. It's hard. It's different for everybody. But when I got out of school, it took me 4 years to get a job, 3 to 4 years. And I was getting ready to quit, saying oh, this is hard. This is an industry that may not be kind to me. I may not be able to do what I thought I could do. You know what I mean? So it took a while.
So I would say that is something that I think a lot of actors experience and don't often talk about. I don't know, there may be some internalized shame regarding our career being flitzy and movie and goey and dewy. But I would say in the past small spurt of time, these past set of years from 2020 to 2024 specifically, just this bout has been a wild shift in change in not only the way this industry works, but also the way that we're living our lives. And then there's been worldwide impact. I'm curious about how, in particular, you all were affected by this. And Solomon, if you'd like to offer an answer for how maybe this has personally shifted you in these past few years, then maybe everyone else can also speak to how they've been affected in this time.
Okay, just to clarify, when you're referring to like the shift of more so of like, could you? I'm a little.
No, I'm sorry. I'll be a little bit more concise. I'm a circle talker too. From 2020 to 24, I'll say
Uh-huh.
that span of 4 years. How would you say that span has had an impact on you as an artist?
Okay. So for everyone, the year 2020 was, a very weird time. I mean, we had a pandemic, everybody had to like be cut off from the world in a way. So that time in itself gave me more time to like connect with God and to further understand who I am as a man, as an individual, and of course as an artist. So from 2020 to 2024, there has definitely been a big shift, but 2020 definitely started that notion for me. But now looking at the end of 2024, from then to now, I would say like I've I've gotten really specific on what I want to do, how I want to have myself looked upon as. I've got really specific with my non-negotiables. I've gotten really specific on how I want to impact in this realm of performance. Granted, as Quan mentioned, like I'm not in control of anything as far as like what I'm going to be doing. I mean, I wish I could, but that's just not how it worked. But yeah, so that's been like a key factor for myself. And also, as Brandon mentioned earlier, like I look at this as like ministry. So at the end of the day, I'm just trying to continue to grow and expound. I think I'm using the right word, expound and express my ministry of performance and theater to others because that's what I take it as. And that's what I truly believe in my heart theater is.
That time was like a culture shock, man. Like from 2020 to 2024, it was like a culture shock in so many different ways. And like, it's gonna sound crazy, especially on this call full of these colorful brothers. But like, during that time, that's when I moved from Virginia to New England. And it wasn't just a culture shock and, change of atmosphere. It was just like, we know so much was happening in the world. Some stuff that they were like shoving down our throats in 2020 that they just switched up on to 2024. You know what I mean? The boom, 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 the swap up. But like, it was the first time where like I felt like a black man in America. And I always knew I was black. You know what I mean? Where I come from in Virginia, like, yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? We just, what's up, bro? What's up, bro? You know what I mean? But when I came up here, it was just so different. And then layer on a pandemic and then layer on all these books coming out on like how to treat me as a da 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 or whatever. It was just so different. It was like, I remember like going to class every day, and I'm like, you know, I would be in class and it would be like a tear fest, but for the wrong things. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on now, I came here to get my degree and learn this. I got to walk out of here and still be this. So let me come in here and like, okay, come on, let's get to it. And it was crazy. I think if anything, all those things that I would get told as a child from my papa or from my uncles or from my mother about, about them, about how to be a black man in America and the things to look out for. Not saying I never paid it any mind. I listened to it, as any young child would. It's just that I'm thinking like, oh, okay, all right, mom, like, why you on that type of time? Oh, brother, man, da 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 da. But when I got up here, I found myself like feeling some of the pressures. I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. And I think during that time, talk about like protecting peace and protecting joy and that becoming a lifestyle. I think that's like the number one thing I had to like take hold of. Cause I think also going to grad school during that time, they put a stereotype on you in that space, you know? So I never wanted to be angry nothing like too crazy. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be all of this stuff because I already felt how certain things would be, received. So I think I had to learn how to keep my solar plexus really soft, really, really soft. I never wanted it to become rock. I never wanted to develop a callus because I started to feel like during that time period, oh, it was easy to do that. And I just had to work against that. I had to work against it.
Mhm. I think I saw Aaron. Did I see your hand too? Did you have a thought?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. First, Solomon and Brandon, man, I appreciate what y'all said about this being our ministry, man. I remember, I played like football my whole life, and I went up to college and played football. And I remember saying that football was my ministry. And I thought that was like the way God was gonna grant me the keys to the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, God, if I say it's for you, then it's gonna happen. But that ain't the case. That ain't how God work. It's his will be done, and his will be done, but that don't mean my ministry stopped. And where I am now, he has granted me the ability to be an actor. And I'm still a child of God, which means I still have a mission in the ministry. So I appreciate Solomon and Brandon for putting that in perspective for me. But like how things changed for me in grad school in from 2020 to 2024 was one, I lost sight of that, like what my ministry was. I thought I was acting because it was like my heart's desire, and which is true, like God put this on my heart, but I lost that. But then also to Quan's point, like, man, like I was letting my anger go. And like Will and Wale, they know, like they was at school with me. Like I was letting it go, man. I was letting people have it. I wasn't soft shoeing for nobody unless you was my teacher. And even then, like I probably said some stuff to teachers before where I'm like, yeah, but that ain't what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Which can be very disrespectful, but that was something that I had to do because I grew up in a house where a lot of alcoholics, a lot of stuff, children are seen, not heard. I grew up in an environment where I could only express myself with peers, but I felt like I was putting on my grown man pants and everybody was challenging my version of a man or getting me out of the version of a man that I like felt like I worked so hard to build up. And truthfully, I think now I'm more of the man that God needs me to be just through the softening of those 4 years, through the like pruning and hacking away at things. Like I'm not passive, I'm more empathetic. You know what I mean? And like being okay with that though, especially like being a black man in America and like being okay with like a dent in my armor and like also being okay with like something hurt my feelings and like expressing it and learning to express it in a more eloquent way. But I definitely coming into grad school, especially I'm from Houston, Texas, so like George Floyd was like it's like I know this man, so I'm coming into grad school angry. I'm coming into grad school wanting to be the best actor I can be. And then it's like everybody's like, nah, that ain't good enough, or that's not specific enough. And I'm like, what you talking about? You know,
Right.
but
You're like, how are you gonna identify what I got going on over here? But it's
yeah,
just someone having an eye on from an outside perspective and being able to filter that is a challenge. It always is. I think I saw your hand too, Wale.
Yeah, 2020 to 2024 was Definitely a lot of tumultuous things going on in the city, and very interesting how it was like reflected in grad school as well. Like it just was a lot of madness going on, and life was just happening really, really fast, coming at everybody incredibly fast. But what I took from it that was really, really useful is that sometimes like intense things will happen. And I think God puts us in those situations on purpose because he's always with us and we'll always find a way through. But then I realized, I'm like, oh, okay, like talking to myself, if I'm stirred this much, you might need to do more investigation about who you are. Because the clearer I get on that, especially being out of grad school now, the less things move me, but I can still find it within myself to pay attention to them and not overlook it, you know. But it was very interesting in that way because at a certain point in time, like even going back to what Quan said about, yeah, like I've been black, born black, know that I'm black, but now like, you know, things are happening in a way where it's sort of, you know, it's it's throwing me off a little bit, maybe it's making me, you know, ask some questions, but I think it's all for the better, you know, for sure. Because I'm even going back to one of the earlier questions about what grad school was like in a word. For me, it was like the front, like the first frontier, you know, in the sense of like things were just happening. And I came into it thinking, okay, this is a great institution. It's Ivy League, you know, it costs all this money. So they're going to take care of us. You know, it's going to take care of us. It's going to be clean. The work will be hard, but I'm game for that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I was in it, I was like, damn, like I don't know how to do this. I'm asking for help. And they're like, well, I mean, we love you. We're here for you. You got to figure it out. But throughout a lot of the journey, at one point it pissed me off. And similar to what Aaron was saying, there were certain parts of myself that were on display that, I mean, to a certain degree, I was proud that I was able to be that bold. To another degree, I was like, all right, well, you know, we gotta find a different way to handle these situations. But all of that being said, I said, you know what? Like, if you can be clear on who you are on a day to day, when you wake up, you know, like what you do, you know, the conversations you have with God and like how specific in your relationship you're trying to be with him. If you can do that, then everything will sort of just take care of itself. You know, like 2020 to 2024, I'm glad I had the experience, but moving forward, when something like that happens again, because I believe it will, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if I just saw a hand, Craig, or was that just like a little floaty, like a little wave? You can go ahead.
I was trying to be smooth. So 2020, 20 to now, 2024 for me. I was caught between two processes of higher education, going from undergrad to grad school. And with so much going on in the world and like specifically in my life when it came to my art and just things that were going on in my artistry, for me, my joy and my love for this craft, I felt like it was taken from me before I got to grad school. And going back to one of the old questions about defining success, at a point, you know, I defined my success by what, you know, at the time my mentor saw success to be. But it never fit for me. You know, I felt like I was either more or I just wasn't whatever that view was. And I didn't bend, I didn't break, and I felt like I was penalized for that. And it broke me in a lot of ways because I felt like I lost my confidence in myself, and who I was. And, you know, I was raised with a lot of nurturing, you know, my pops, he instilled who I am as a boy, young man, a black man, all through my life. So in undergrad, I lost so much. I lost sight of that. and also distance myself from, my relationship with God and my relationship with things that kept me grounded because I was just in such a dark place. And when I got into grad school, I had the great opportunity. I was fortunate to go to grad school with a brother, Solomon. That's my dude. Like, we've been through the trenches together, and I felt protected going there, but I felt like I was so happy, and I was running like I'm free. I've made it. Like all of that. Whew. And then I got here, and it felt like I ran from one. That's saying you ran from one plantation to another, but not in that specific way, but in the sense of like it's about me, and I needed to find my own happiness, my growth, my being whole, and who I am. I can't just submit that responsibility to someone else. And I appreciate what Aaron said because I laughed because when we got here, we're in Kansas City, Missouri. I've never been to Kansas City, Missouri. But it's a place just like any other. I grew up in Southern Maryland, so I'm used to what things are like, being a Black man, yada, yada, yada. But I was confronted with a lot of things and challenges. The image of the angry Black man in our cohort, that was put on me. And at first, like, I didn't give a reason. I stayed on my pivot. I spoke up if things didn't feel right, not because I had pride or ego, but because like, hey, I don't think we should be doing that, or I'm not comfortable with that. And with me not being comfortable with certain things, it got turned into, well, you're stubborn, arrogant, you're hard to work with, when I speak very diplomatic, very kind and stuff like that. When, it's not that deep for me. I just want to voice my concern. And I felt like I was being pushed. And just to go into a specific experience, we did an audition for Peter Pan and Wendy. I'll be really quick. And we were briefed with our grad school professor about the audition. Went and did the audition. It went one way. We got callbacks, and me, Solomon, and another one of our cohort members, we were called back for a puppetry role. I'm open, so I'm not, I'm cool. I'm game. Let's do it. And when we got in there, basically, we were told to get on all fours and crawl like a dog, and basically become this dog for Peter Pan and Wendy, whatever the story was. And it messed me up because I'm like, I felt myself shaking historically, just everything. I'm like, wait, that doesn't align with me, my artistry, everything. Like, why would they put this in front of me? But being open and leading with grace, I attempted, I did the pant that they wanted. But then the director, he asked me to bark. And I said, you want me to do what? He said, bark like a dog. And I said, no, I can't do that for you. And it turned into this whole thing. But I bring that up to say that trickled down into so many different situations where Craig was the aggressor or like stubborn, when I'm just like, I'm standing on my pivot of things that I don't feel like is right. I'm not saying I'm closed off, but certain things have to make sense to me, because I not only represent myself, I represent my community. I represent the people who came before me. And I'm just not that. I'm not that guy. But I had to learn not only grace for other people, but I had to learn that, my pops always told me, I'm 6'5". You're big. You're a big dude. So you got to move a certain way. You can't move how you might want to, because people don't care how you feel. They don't care where you're coming from. They just going to see you, your size, the way you're talking, the bass in your voice. And you may be saying it in a very diplomatic way, but you have to learn how to, you know, deal with things like that. And these 3 years just by getting out, it taught me some things are not worth my time. They're not worth my energy. They're not worth the anger that I have. Don't even let it get there. You know, people make mistakes. It happens. It's the business. People have blind spots. It happens. It's the business. But hold my power. Don't let someone, you know, toy with the things that I hold high and toy with, you know, who I am, you know. And also it opened myself to like pray more because I wasn't praying, you know, in the time when I was just in a bad spot in 2020, getting to 2021. And my soulful brother Solomon, you would always reassure me, like, talk to God, talk to God. And, you know, I would just start releasing the responsibility of me being in control to God and just being like, hey, I submit. I'm here. So yeah, that's my piece.
As we're all sort of talking about this time of intense change and transition, how much sort of upheaval just kind of happened worldwide, us, you know, having an extra eye on American culture since that's where we live and that's where we are as artists, the majority of us here. I'm curious about the kind of leap back that we can take mentally when we're thinking about where we've come to where we are. And I guess I'll direct this question towards John. I would say if there was a moment or a person amidst all this change, all these things shifting and happening that made you really believe that you could pursue this as a career and maintain it and be within all of these up and downs that happen. Can you share a bit about that moment or that person or people?
I don't think there's one. There are several. I'll I'll try to articulate one, but I'll have to answer this question and I have to go because I have to do some homework for a Zoom audition tomorrow morning. But that being said, I also wanted to congratulate all of y'all as a generation because when I went to school, I was the only Black person. I started acting. I went to school after I'd finished a professional career of being a salesperson, selling computers to banks. And I was the only Black person in my class. So I dealt with a lot of the things that you all have dealt with. Your 2020 to 2024 was my what was it when I went to school? 1992 to 1994, because it was a 2-year program. And I just want to applaud all of you on your level of consciousness of who you are and what you represent as African-American males, females as well, in this world that we are in, and also your commitment to God and your willingness to know who's in the driver's seat, who's in control, and your surrender and submitting to that. I cannot tell you how powerful that is for me to hear and to know that it will benefit you in your careers in myriad ways, because there are a lot of people who don't think like that, don't have the consciousness or commitment to God, and their careers can sputter all over the place and they have no idea why. You guys seem to be very focused, and I applaud that. So getting back to a moment, okay. Yeah, this was the first moment. So when I was going to Trinity, I remember there was 2 productions of Macbeth. One that Trinity was doing, and there was an African company from the Royal Shakespeare Company. They had broke off, these African members. They came over and did a tour through the United States of an 8-person Macbeth. And it was amazing. It was brilliant. I'd never seen this many Black people doing this kind of work, and so brilliantly. They were fantastic. But prior to going to the theater, I was walking down the street. This was the night before my first day of classes at Trinity. So I was walking down the street, and there were these two white women about 25 yards in front of me, walking towards me. And I was walking towards them because I had to get to the crosswalk to cross the street to go to the theater to see Macbeth. So as I got to them, they, in sync, moved their pocketbooks from one side of their body to another. It was very subtle, succinct, but I caught it in my conscious, primarily my subconscious. I just saw it. And I kept moving. They kept moving. I remember when I got to the traffic light, I turned back to look at these two white women who were now about 15 yards in front of me. I crossed the street, went to the theater, saw the play, met these brothers and sisters who were from different countries in Africa after the show as a reception, just to tell them how much I loved them and how inspiring their work was. It was really amazing. The next day was the first day of my classes for Trinity Rep Conservatory. So we had a voice class. It was a link letter voice class. And the teacher, her name was Paula Langton. And the way she did the class was everybody lie down, pick a partner. You lie down, get a sheet of paper, and draw your partner's outline of their body. And then you do the same with the other person. And then on that map of your body, draw where you think your voice is. And then you're going to get up here and make a presentation to the rest of the class. So there was like 12 people in the class. I'm the only Black person. Now, I had all this training from this other company that I worked with because I was a corporate salesperson before I was an actor. So I had given presentations before. So I said, this will be easy. I'm going to let all these old motherfuckers go and fuck up. And then I'm going to show them how it's done, you know, because I done did this before. So everybody went up, and then the teacher said, are you going to go up, John? This is your last chance. I said, okay, I'll go up. And she said, I presented my drawing and my voice where I thought it was. And she looked at me, she said, is there anything else you want to tell us? I was like, I told you, here's my voice. I said everything I got to say. She said, no, do you want to? I don't know how she knew, but she knew I had something to say that I didn't even know I had to say. So she kept asking me, you sure? Do you have anything you want to tell us, John? And I said, I went into this story about these two white women moving their purses. And I couldn't even contain my anger and my sorrow that I was feeling as I was telling this story that was in my subconscious, but now I brought it into the room. So I was crying and all the other classmates were crying. So it got a real serious story. And the class ended and I was still crying. I was still broken from this experience and having to talk about it. The teacher stayed with me for like another 30 minutes. I could not control. I was inconsolable. So she stayed with me. And I remember the one thing she said by the time I stopped crying, she said, John, if you could share your story with us like that, you can be an actor. It was a very simple thing. If you can be that vulnerable and that truthful and that honest about something that hurt you that deeply and shift us in the room, you can be an actor. Just remember that before you give up, because this is such a horrible experience for you. Just remember that says that you can do this and you can do it proficiently and do it well. So don't ever forget that. So that's probably my defining experience, because had she not have said that, I definitely probably wouldn't have come back to classes the next day, because I just felt like this was going to be a horrible place for me, being the only Black person there. And if I have to talk about experiences about my life, about being a Black person in this world, it's going to be like that all the goddamn time. It's going to be really difficult for me. So that was my defining experience.
Thank you so much, John, man. Thank you so much for being here, man. Like, genuinely, what that moment, what that African company was for you,
that was literally Broadway, Jitney, 2016, December. Man, I saw you up there, man, and that lit something in me. So this is just full circle, man. We thank you so much.
That's beautiful to hear.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you,
Thank
man.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Like
All
for
right.
real.
Thank y'all
For real,
all so
on behalf
much.
of all the Billiards, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm always here. Y'all always want to get in touch. Just let me know, man. But God bless and continued success to all of y'all. And we should at least let each other know when we're doing something so we can go see it and participate and support each other. So keep the names, and maybe we can at least have a WhatsApp or just a chain email to let people know when stuff is going on.
I can get everybody's stuff to you. I definitely can do
Yeah,
that, sir.
I'd love
Thank
that.
you.
All right.
Thank you
Blessing.
so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Have a great study session.
I will. Take care, y'all.
Take care.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I guess I want to thank you all for being so deeply vulnerable within this conversation. It can't be easy to navigate your own life, navigate your spirit, navigate the care for other people around you, navigate, being in spaces that don't necessarily always look like they're designed for you, stepping into, a new country or a new state, or like, it's just these things deeply curve and shape who we are as people. And it can be a lot to carry. And while, sometimes people expect actors to be vulnerable, it can still be a very difficult thing to do. So thank you all for your availability and your openness in doing that. And I think that quality speaks to the kind of child that lives in each of us and the sort of innermost part of us as people. So I'm curious, I guess, for the last question I'll throw out, which is a question to have. Luis, if you'd like to answer, if there's something that you could go back and say to little Luis about this industry, how you're living now, how you exist, what would you speak to that little guy in there?
Never, never, never. I don't know how to say this in English. Like, always trust your gut. I believe every time I ignore my gut, every single time, I paid the consequences very bad. Every time. That I remember that it was, but sometimes I was confused because after that I was like, oh, this is anxiousness or this is my gut. But there's something when it's your gut or it's something bigger, maybe something bigger that is telling you, don't do that, don't go there. And when I'm ignoring it, it's bad. And when I follow it, it could be good. So I will tell that. Always trust what you feel, trust what you believe, and go after that, even that it feels weird for other people, even that at the moment could be something that you feel uncomfortable, or maybe you think like, yeah, but it looks great. It's like this, it's gold, it's money, or something like, but you feel that it's not right. Trust that.
Yeah. I think I have heard the expression that you're talking about, or maybe that came to you initially. Like, ¿cómo se dice en español? Like, what is the phrase in Spanish?
I was about to say, like, never distrust, and nunca desconfíes, nunca.
That's what it is.
Confíes de tu guts.
Okay,
you
great.
can say it in Spanish too, bro. We got subtitles.
Yeah. We'll catch up. Literally,
Right.
I'll pull it up on my phone. Like, I'm down for like figuring out what it is. So whatever helps you get it out. Say what you need to say. Does anyone else have any thoughts for their tiny human inside of them?
Yep. I just want to retweet the same thing he said, because that was my initial thing that popped up in my head. More specifically, discernment. Like, I would tell like the younger self, truly have discernment on what you feel is coming your way. Because not to bring up this traumatic story again with Peter Pan and Wendy with Craig, but the day of our audition, we were going over our sides in the living area. I was like, bruh, what if we go in there and they tell us to be some animals and call us gorillas and eat some bananas? I verbatimly said that
You
to
called
Craig.
it.
Then I walked in there and then I was like, what? No, I was just joking about this. This can't be happening. So, but it's funny to laugh at now, but like on the real, like
Yeah, at the time.
discernment is everything. Like discernment can make or break you. So like I would literally tell myself that.
More thoughts for the little ones, Craig? And then I think I saw Wale's hand too. Yeah, we'll go around on this one. It's a great one to speak to, youth.
I'm gonna be quick. I would tell my younger self, Craig the actor and Craig the person, they're the same person. So like, don't dissociate and neglect your life, your happiness, and just the things that you want for the actor. Make sure you prioritize your life, your health. You know, to get personal, to get open. I got married this year, and I found the love of my life, and it has healed me so much because I grew up with so much love. I'm a lover boy, and but I've had so much trauma as well with love, and my blockage for my life has also tampered with my artistry, and I had to work on parts of myself outside of the theater, off the stage, so that I can come onto the stage with openness and vulnerability and not being scared to just let it all out in the way that it's supposed to be. But just prioritizing, self, and also be careful on the things that you say and speak onto yourself. Because when you say things and you adopt negative ideas or you downplay yourself, then those manifest. And that is also something that it took me time to get out of that. But once I did, I just look back. I'm like, I should have never denied myself of those things. So that's what I would say.
I guess we'll toss it to Wale next because Wale.
What I would say is practice gratitude as much as you possibly can. Understand that he is always with you. So if things are down now, it's okay. Like he's with you, he'll get you back up. And for me, I found acting like much, much, much later. I think athletics was my first love, and I found an affinity in expressing through movement. And I think that's like what's kept me grounded in my discovery, in my journey right now. But even whether like it's artistry or athletics, dare to not know. Life is not knowing, like we have no idea what tomorrow brings. But if we can be daring about it a little bit, like a little bold, a little brave, day by day, life will open up to you over time.
Why don't we'll run over to Will. Alrighty, why don't we jump this a little bit? Why don't we'll run over to Will. After we go to Will, we'll go to Jaquan, then we'll go to Brandon, and then who am I still missing from that bit? Aaron, did you speak yet? Then Aaron, and I think that'll have been everyone. Okay, cool, great. Go in that order.
Man, I will probably tell my younger self to get a handle on patience, especially because I like to do stuff. I like to move, and if I don't have to, I'm not gonna want to wait. I want to get the information. I want to get it now. But at the same time, especially now, I'm realizing like it's okay, if I don't got it, and it's okay to not have it, and it's okay to just be. Um, and I think that if I could pour that into my younger self earlier on, I would just, I would have enjoyed things a lot more, um, as opposed to constantly trying to think and navigate and plan in a way. Yeah, and I think that it would have added a lot more joy to certain things for me. Um, that I think now at this age, I've learned quite a bit, and I've gotten to get a better understanding and a stronger understanding now of it. So I would say patience.
Um, I would tell my younger self to keep on breathing. Even when y'all was talking, I was like, nigga, breathe. Because my chest would get tight because y'all saying some cool stuff, man. And I'm like, nah, breathe through that. Keep breathing. Stay open. Stay goofy. Goofy. And never dim that light. And another thing that I would actually get told a lot when I was coming up as a kid from my mentor, Monty Ross, he told me at 8 years old, man, I was like 8, 9 years old at the Addicts Theater, it's this theater in Norfolk. It was like this summer, after after like summer thing, for like low income kids, and it wasn't even a serious theater camp. But he told me at that age that you're gonna have to make your own work. He told me that at that age, and I didn't get it at that time. You just gonna have to make your own work. He wasn't the only mentor to tell me that. Young, coming up young like that. So, and I would implement that. I would tell my younger self that keep making your own work, keep on making your own work, keep on going, and like keep thanking God for the highs and the lows and everything in between. But yeah, that's the number one thing I would. Those are the things that I would tell my younger self, and I think it's just crazy just hearing that because he would always say that, and I never knew how to feel about that. Like, nigga, what you mean? I want to be a part of other work. You know what I mean? I want to do the stuff. What you mean, making myself? But the more and more I'm gifted with more days and years on this earth, I see the fruit. I see the fruit of that. So yeah.
You have always been enough. I would say you are beautiful. You have always been enough. God made you exactly as you are. Uh, People will bully you for many things and other you for many things. And you'll find that later on in life that it was those very things that saved those people who bullied you. It was those very things that people othered you with that are the very things that book you jobs because it's you. The queerness is you. God made you as you are. Don't run from yourself. You'll try, and God will always direct you back. Don't go too far away from home. Home is not just a place, home is inside, home is a feeling. And forgive them, for they do what they do not know what they do. And you are them, and they are you. Heal you so that you can heal them. And you can't heal them without healing you. So fill your cup up so that you can fill their cup up. And you are beautiful. You've always been fearfully and wonderfully made. Mm-hmm.
All right, take us home, Mayor.
Brandon, my brother Brandon should have took us home. You know
Don't worry, you're still there.
No, man, I at first I was like, man, I don't even know what I would tell my younger self because I'm so hard on myself. And I'm like, man, I don't like nothing I'm doing. But I thought of something, but then also these brothers helped me think of more things that I would tell my younger self, and I was writing a lot down. Um, but first, it was Louise who sparked my mind, and I was like, man, trust yourself, bro. Like, trust yourself, man. Like, 'cause you are talented. And then it went down to like, be confident, you know? But then I'm like, but why I'm not confident? Then I was like, don't let them take your joy. And that joy that you have. I remember my mama always told me, like, she tells me to this day, like, I ain't gonna get into it because this ain't no therapy session, but somewhere she remembers when her son lost her joy and his confidence. And she's always telling me to get it back. And I would tell my younger self, which is now, because I am me, like someone just said earlier, like I would tell myself, like, bro, maintain your joy and your confidence and these things that make you you. And be patient because I'm a planner. I like to like map out what I'm going to do. And you're not going to get in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get in trouble. I lived in fear a lot of my life because I always thought something was going to happen. And it's like, no, you're not going to get in trouble. And yeah. And I love what you said, Brandon, with home is a feeling. You know, I thought that was beautiful. So that's it. That's what it is. That's what it is for me.
And I will say, we have made our rounds. If there were anything that I would maybe say to my younger little human in there, I think I would tell them, you know, that dreams are a piece of the vision. And in order for the dream to step into fruition, there has to be the legwork behind it. You're a beautiful dreamer, you're a beautiful visionary. You see things for yourself and also follow them. Do them, step in them, and move as if those dreams can be real. They don't have to stay a vision, but that you wouldn't have the vision if it wasn't meant to be there with you. You never have a vision. God will never give you a sight that isn't relevant for you. So I think I would tell that little human that. And I guess I just have to say thank you all for taking this time, for going over the time, for being here in community with each other and learning about our shared experiences and individual experiences on all things billiards, VMSOA, on our website. Follow these amazing artists. Be sure to follow these amazing artists, everyone watching. And until next time, stay inspired, stay creative, and always meet us back at the table. Happy New Year's, and shout out to our director, Billiards VMSOA magazine series host and co-creator, Vania Alonnie.
Come on, Vania, show your face.
I was about to say hey.
Fucking embarrassing.
Instead of just crying, don't worry. I've been like,
this episode is gonna be so good. All right, stop looking at me.
So incredibly sweet. But truly, thank you all. And remember that Virginia and the DMV is not only a place for lovers, but it's also a sanctuary for dreamers.